as usual, well, we'll start with the review of what's new in the latest Siebel release, 24.12. Let me share my screen. Okay. So 24.12 has been released, believe it or not, on the 24th of December. So that I don't know, somebody at Oracle just waited for waited for it, or they scheduled it. Yeah, so it was there on Christmas Eve. And what's in it? There are a few things. CTMS gets some attention. The Apache Kafka integration, customer order management. So Oracle worked in all areas. And Tomcat was not an area where they blessed us with an update. It's still the same as in 24.10, the 9093. So Nick, you would agree that CTMS has had a lot of features and enhancements over the past 5 years.
Oh, yes. And we haven't implemented any of them.
And you can't implement any of them because you have customized it so heavily, and it conflicts
Yeah.
with the repository upgrade is just too hard.
Yep.
And that's a pity. Yeah, this Power Trials integration, I read a Google Power Trials and I found out, okay, this is the Cerner. This is a product of Cerner, which Oracle acquired like 2 years ago for, I don't know, $20+ billion. It was a very big acquisition. And this has several modules, and I don't know anything about it, but Power Trials is one of those modules, and it's now pre-integrated with Siebel, or more precisely, CTMS, Siebel Clinical Trials. Always good to see pre-integrations happening, so Oracle really cares that the applications are connected. Same with Kafka. We had Kafka introduced, or Kafka integration in 23.6. That is 1.5 years ago. And now there is a major enhancement with 24.12. It's the support for Kafka partitions. So not sure if you know, and you don't need to know if you don't use Kafka, but Kafka has these topics, which are the kind of streams or queues that you can read and write from. And those topics can be partitioned. So for better parallelism, so you can process messages in the same topic in parallel. You have, of course, improved scalability because you can scale it out on different servers or containers. So it's a thing, obviously, with Kafka, and now Siebel supports it, which is always good. And another thing that when you read through the system administration guide, which has all the details on the new features, there is a new payload structure for runtime events. So again, you might not even know that this is a thing. Anyone using Kafka or testing the waters with Kafka already? Anyone?
We've looked into it, set up a working environment in our lab, but haven't moved forward with it just yet. We were looking for a few resiliency improvements. So
Okay.
we'll see what the future holds, but this is very promising here.
Yes, very, very promising indeed. Thanks, Jason. And the thing with the payload is that Oracle created a structure with that JSON basically comes out when you use runtime events to integrate with Kafka. So that's the namesake for event publication and subscription. So runtime events on the Siebel side. And that JSON structure is very, let's say, non-standard. And now Oracle standardized it. So you have to use an environment variable to enable that new structure. And there's an interesting thing in the bookshelf, actually, that Oracle recommends, as the bookshelf guide says now, to transition to that new payload structure. Not that many customers use it already, but if you use it, be advised that the new structure will take over, the new format. eventually the old one will be desupported in the future. So that's important to pay attention when you are already using the Kafka integration. And customer order management is another, dinosaur in a good sense, module of Siebel where there is the versions of objects. You recall products, product definitions, classes, attributes can have versions. And those older versions, as they pile up, they can be deleted individually. But some administrators would like a bulk deletion feature. And now with 24.12, that's a thing, the bulk deletion feature as a method for a business service as usual. And funny enough, Oracle documents that not in the order management guide, but in the REST guide, because, well, you can call a business service method with the REST API. Indeed, you can. So this has gone into the product administration REST API officially. So yeah, that's what is in the bag, in the sock in 24.12. Anything you want to share about any Siebel 24 version? Because this is the end of year Siebel Friday. So what's your current Siebel 24 thoughts? Anyone? You updated to Siebel 24 this year?
I'm on 24.10.
Yeah, Nick is on 24.10. Nice.
Mostly because of Tomcat.
Because of Tomcat, yeah. That's the main driver.
Yes,
Well,
those third-party
last
libraries.
Yeah, the last ISO CVS is there's a 9.8 on Tomcat right now.
A vulnerability, yeah, that is reported
Vulnerability, yeah,
on
9.8. So as soon as that comes out, we'll upgrade probably ASAP.
Oracle probably has an eye on that, and maybe 25.1 will have a new Tomcat.
Yeah, probably because the Oracle patch will come out next month, so probably be part of it.
Yeah, Tomcat is always in the headlines. Yeah, always making the news. Okay, so yeah, that was the usual review of what's new in the 12th update for Siebel 24, which is also the last. Well, as you have guessed, next one will be 25.1. And Siebel 25, I think, is special because it's the 30th anniversary Siebel. Siebel was, the first version was released in 1995, 30 years ago, before my time with Siebel, to be honest. But I joined in 98, or I saw the first Siebel version I saw was 98. And the 30-year anniversary is really something to celebrate. Like next year, we'll do a lot of stuff on the Siebel Hub. Lots of fun stuff, lots of new things. And if you have any ideas, yeah, drop me a note, drop me a chat message, drop me an email. So next on the list is DevPops, which is also, let me just get a moment. There we go. DevPops, is a strictly educational, I have to say it, repository on the GitHub of Black Sheep. So it's hosted under the Black Sheep umbrella. And many of you know it because on the Siebel Fridays, I would like to talk about new features in DevPops. And the 24.12 release is out. And there's or actually a few features related to web tools. One of which I've had on my mind for a few months or years, and it's about visualizing things. These visualizers in actually Siebel tools, where you can visualize a business object or a business component And with, can you see the screen? Sorry, just to,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Remote desktop always messes that up. So yeah, we have these visualizers in Siebel tools, but in web tools, of course, there is a workflow editor. So let's take a look at this workflow here. Oh, I zoomed out heavily. There it goes. So that's the workflow editor, and this workflow is pretty, yeah, nice to read, easy on the eye, more or less, right? So you can make sense of it. But the more complex a workflow becomes, the more hard it is to read. So let's find favorites. There's a beast. I was browsing the vanilla workflows for the most complex one that I could find, and this is one of them. Yeah. Okay. I know where it starts, but what happens when and what are the decision paths and error paths, etc. is very hard to read, you would agree. And you probably have some of these at home, right? So custom workflows. So my idea was to read that entire workflow and make it look good on a screen, not in editor mode, not in editing mode, but for visualizing it. And here's now if you install DevPops for web tools, you have a preview button, or actually two of them. And if I click the first one, fingers crossed, pick the biggest workflow, but it works fine. And that uses Mermaid. Mermaid is an open source JavaScript library that can, well, create flowcharts, which is kind of ideal for workflows. So you see, okay, there's a sub workflow. There's some business service steps. There's the decision step. It's very big, so you have to zoom out and zoom in. But the flow is basically preserved as the top down. So further you go down, the more you see the steps that get executed. So the whole thing is very big still. It's still hard to really make sense of it, but you can see, or would you agree that it's more readable than before? Can make more sense of it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even if that's the biggest workflow I could ever find. So I started with the heavy one. So let's take a look at a smaller one, for instance. So here's an old SAP workflow. And well, that's that's very simple, right? So it's just start, step, end. So that looks nice too. And the preview to button does a little bit more. It adds the properties to the steps, the business service, or actually every step gets the input and output properties. So you don't have to, click each step. Oh yeah, and if you click a step with a business service that has a script in it, then it pops out the business service with all the scripts. It's read only, of course, but you can keep that side by side, basically, or minimize it. And I was playing around with tabs recently because there was a discussion about web tools and tabs, and it's not the same as the tabs in Siebel tools, but you can have tabs in HTML, right? So that there's some tabs here for each method. It's not very pretty. And I also wanted to, let's say the developer can keep that open somehow, but it's in the way, right? So you minimize it and becomes a tab on the bottom of the screen. So you can bring it up again quickly. So that's the whole business service, all the eScript in a business service. So I was experimenting with that. Let's bring up a bigger one, like this, order management. Yeah, so you see that it's very handy when you can see what's the input and what's the output of a step, right? So obviously that, Siebel message is used a lot here. You can do a simple thing. You can just search using your browser search for Siebel message and gets highlighted. This is Urman's highlighting here, but it's also nice. I was thinking of implementing it myself, then I was getting too lazy. And yeah, sometimes you want to not just look at it, marvel at it on the screen. You want to print it, right? So you can, well, you can, one thing you can do, you can keep those open. It's a floating dialogue, right? So you can open another one and compare them. And in the new window button, well, that's what it says, opens a new window. So that's a new browser window. Can go on a different screen even if you have one. And well, that's the whole workflow in HTML. So you can, of course, open up the print dialog. Yeah. A little bit weird that the first page is blank, so I haven't fixed that, but let's say page 2 to 5. So you have to customize it a little bit, but it's good enough, right? To put in your documentation, and it's or 2 to 6. It's much more readable than, no. Okay, it cut something off, but I don't worry about it. So it's much more readable than you would print out the editor. So yeah, that was basically added to DevPops. The mermaid charts, if you have heard about it. There is, yeah, they have an online viewer, they have a live editor or something like that. I was using that recently. Is that? Oh yeah. So here they have a live editor, so you can play around with samples. And it's pretty impressive what they have. So they have flow diagrams, they have class diagrams, state diagrams, entity relationship. So you get a lot of ideas, right? When you say, okay, take a business object and visualize it in Mermaid. And that Mermaid code is basically a text you have to generate. You can see that it has some reserved characters like curly brackets, stuff like that, and pipes. So it's very difficult when your text has these characters, so you have to escape them. But you get around it. So might prove very useful. So what do you think, guys?
It's interesting.
Yeah. So any specific workflow you want to see? It's just vanilla here, so I don't have your custom workflows.
All ours are the custom ones
Yeah.
for our integrations.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I've shown you the ability to pop out the script, so you can keep that script on your screen. You can keep the workflow on the screen, and you can keep moving to other parts. I have to resize that, but you can keep moving and open another one and another workflow and compare that side by side. No, not sure what comes up now. It's just random, but yeah. And one thing I was mentioning before is the REST API of Siebel, right? Always gets enhanced. And Nick, you told me before we started that you're working on refactoring your code, documenting the repository to the REST API. And how do you actually read a workflow with the REST API? Because, well, you know, DevPops, it's using the REST API a lot. And this is actually one single REST call, which also limits it to modern Siebel versions. So your Siebel has to be on 23.7 or higher, because in that version, Oracle introduced the REST call. Let me show you the REST calls to fetch everything, the get children. So let's go to network. Let's just open this one again. So we see the call that's made. Let me zoom in so you can see it. So you see the URL that's generated by the JavaScript is using the Workspace API. It's workspace sensitive, so it uses the main workspace currently. I have the main workspace open, but it would use any open workspace. And there's workflow process, so that's the type of object I'm reading, and it can read any repository object type like business component, business object. And here's the name of the workflow process. And that's the magic parameter is get children equals all. So, and that tells the Siebel EI object manager to retrieve the entire hierarchy. So you can imagine workflows can become pretty big. So the response is, yeah, a lot, right? So it's the entire workflow with the parent level, the workflow itself, then each step and each branch and, you know, the input-output arguments for each step. So that's a pretty substantial JSON object here returned. And so now the job of the JavaScript is to parse that JSON object and filter out the interesting parts and generate mermaid code that makes it, makes that diagram. And that's just, so that can be, it's one single call. So that I like that about the REST API, that it always gets improved. So be aware that when you want to use this in your application or want to test it, 23.7 is the minimum version because that has introduced that parameter, get children. But get children works with any query, so including non-workspace data, integration objects, etc. So fetch an entire hierarchy. Okay, how do you like that?
How many days I have to install DevPops?
Yeah, so let me know when you're playing around with it, because I say play around, you don't really use it, right? It's educational code. It's not ready for prime time. But when you play around and you find, sorry, say again?
Of course it is.
Yeah, I have to be careful here because people would assume, you know, liability and.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I already played around with it, and it makes fun, and you get you get documentation where with one click where you have to write hours and hours.
Yeah, thank you, Florian. Yeah, it's fun. It should be fun. So, and if you're playing around and having fun or not so much fun, tell me and we can work it out and maybe add a fix to it, or you can fork it on on GitHub and add your own stuff. Okay, so there's that, and yeah, just checking. Yeah, it's also the nerdiest Siebel Friday of the year, so I've been especially nerdy these days, and I've been playing around with themes. So here's a theme I built. Not sure if you like it. It's the dark theme. You know, it has a tendency to trigger boomers. But I was playing had enough of the light theme of Siebel, so I wanted to have a dark theme, and I had Anthropic AI or Claude AI generate a dark theme for me. So the colors are generated by AI. I haven't touched the style sheet really. But I was playing around not only with the colors, with the dark theme, the darkness. I was also playing around with concepts of navigation. And just one question to the room: do you recognize the base theme, the base Oracle theme behind that? So it's a customized standard.
It's Redwood.
Okay, how can you tell?
Of course, because of the red button at the right corner.
Yeah, the Oracle logo gives away. Yeah, that's actually Redwood, but it doesn't look like Redwood. I made it not look like Redwood on purpose. And I was playing around with the idea of using tabs for Siebel navigation. You know that new concept for Redwood? Because Redwood doesn't know anything about tabs, right? Redwood has a side menu at best. So I was thinking about, okay, let's use some tabs here. And well, let's navigate. And if there are lots of tabs, well, you want to scroll sideways, little scroll bar there. So it could have a drop-down menu at the end, right? We could just have just arrows and it starts moving, yeah, or the other way. So you hover over these little arrows. And well, that's something I played around with, and it's also nothing that I would ever publish, but it's just to, well, trigger somebody or trigger ideas or trigger a discussion here. So first of all, what about the state of Redwood in your project? Speak freely. It's recorded.
We're going to stick with our customized theme.
Ditto.
Yeah, of course. You have invested heavily in a custom theme, and that's going to stay. That's clear. Yeah. Anybody else has evaluated Redwood?
On a high level, but and of course the one thing is that the navigation is only with the red Oracle icon. I can't remember the right pronouncing.
The Ask Oracle button.
Ask Oracle button. That's it. Yeah. So that's the only way to get into the navigation, and that's for my users. This is a very heavy learning feature or necessary learning, and then that harms us in using it.
Yeah, so that's also I heard that a lot in the Applications Unlimited days where we attended in autumn all over Europe. That every customer who evaluated Redwood immediately noted the lack of tab navigation, because that's the default mostly for most projects. And so unless Oracle brings back the tab navigation, and that's not a vanilla theme you're looking at, that's a customization, a sandbox that I did. So it's definitely possible to have tabs, but it's Oracle has to, well, decide if they want to bring it to Redwood or not. It's not ours to say. So okay, Redwood maybe has a little bit of a rough start in 2024, but let's see if it gets better. And what about more general styling? Would you adopt a dark theme in your application, or did you, or have you? What about dark themes?
I think that's the expectation for developers and their IDEs, but not so much for end users.
Okay, so what you're saying, end users would not like a dark theme; they would prefer a light theme over a dark theme.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so,
well, I would agree to Jason, but what is from my point of view, what is a really cool feature in Redwood is that the navigation on a tablet device is much better, and there a dark theme might be very useful as well.
Yeah, on a mobile device, yeah, or even allowing the user to switch, right? So that's a man can dream. So there might be a little button where you can switch the themes. I have to switch them manually, modifying the CSS. So you see the CSS I created behind here. And one thing about Redwood is which I like. It uses variables for the colors, so it's quite a lot of variables. But you can ask your favorite AI to change the colors to have a dark theme, which I did. And you see that I have two here. So basically the second one is the dark theme. So if I just remove that or put it on the front, so it gets overridden by the other one. So the root block basically means, okay, everything can be used here. What's defined here as a variable can be used in another part of the CSS. So, and that Oracle has made that change with Redwood instead of having hard-coded colors. So it's very easy. You only need to take this root block and change the colors, which I did now. Hopefully I don't talk myself into a rut here, but let's just refresh that. And yeah. Okay, it's still not the vanilla Redwood. It's a greener. It's very light. I asked the AI to make it green, but it's not really. Well, yeah, there's. I see. Yeah, now you can see it's a greener style of Redwood, if you will. So, that should be easy on the eye, right? Is it easier than dark? What do you think about this very light?
I think that looks quite nice.
Yeah. Okay, and again, that's facilitated heavily. So experimenting with these themes, using just these variables and literally having an AI. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say I asked Claude AI to change the colors to make it a green theme. You see, it kept the blue. Basically, some names give away the initial colors, blue, but this is now a green color, or a green hue, and then I had it create a dark theme using the same variables, different colors. And you can just go, have a a pumpkin theme or whatever, and go crazy. So also the advent of AI, or the mainstream AI that we have as developers today with Copilot and other tools, lets us create prototype themes much easier. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I just keep playing and exploring capabilities and different ways of doing things. So we've been styling OpenUI since 12 years since it came out, right? We have experimented with style sheets. But Redwood is a very nice base for a custom style, I would say personally. Aurora is perfectly fine as the base for a custom style, but Redwood seems to have some benefits too, yeah. Okay. Anything from your side, and any theme related or other Siebel related stories you wanna share?
When Redwood came out, it broke our theme.
Well, it definitely clashes with any custom style sheet. That's the experience of many people, yeah. So you have to create your own custom Redwood style sheet. So that's definitely happening, yeah. Okay. So yeah, this was a shorter version of the Siebel Friday. I don't want to keep you for too long unless you want to share something, you want to have ideas for next year for the 30th anniversary of Siebel. Anything you want to do in the next Siebel Friday? Well, you know where to find me, but you can also share it here now.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Okay, so yeah, it was really nice to see all of you in this unusual time of the year to to talk shop and talk Siebel. And I'm really happy that you've been here, and wish you all a very prosperous, very healthy, very happy 2025. And see you on the other side.
See you next year.
See you next year. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks as always,
Bye.
Alex.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.